It's just the first quarter of 2024, but we are already witnessing massive upsets in the AI verse. This time, it is Anthropic AI's chatbot tool that is the talk of the town. The notable AI startup announced the latest version of its highly performing language models under the Claude family called Claude 3. And from what we've seen, this tool gives the mighty GPT-4 and Gemini a run for their money. Claude 3 was announced on March 3rd, joining its older language models, the first version, Claude, and the second version, Claude 2. Following the release of Claude 3 on March 4th, users have taken the liberty to fact-check Anthropic's reported benchmark results that show Claude 3's dominance over GPT-4 and Gemini. We also looked into it and made some interesting discoveries. Does this tool actually have an edge over its ChatGPT and Google competition? You will find out. But before that, here's an overview of Claude 3. Claude 3 comprises three family models: Claude 3 Haiku, Claude 3 Sonnet, and Claude 3 Opus. The three models have varying performance capabilities, with Claude 3 Opus being the highest, followed by Claude 3 Sonnet and Claude 3 Haiku. All three models show increased capabilities in forecasting, content creation, and code generation. But they also have special functions that set them apart. Claude 3 Haiku is the fastest and most cost-effective on the market for its intelligence category. Sonnet is 2 times faster than Claude 2.1 when responding to demanding workloads with higher levels of intelligence. Opus boasts similar speeds as Claude 2 and 2.1, but with much higher levels of intelligence. Apparently, Haiku and Sonnet are free to access, and there is the option to subscribe to the Pro version, which gives you access to Claude 3 Opus, the most intelligent. Subscribing to Pro also gives users early access to new features promised to be added. So, how does Claude hold up compared to GPT-4 and Gemini? Anthropic's benchmark results show comparisons of the capabilities of Claude 3 family models with ChatGPT's GPT-4, GPT 3.5, and Gemini's 1.0 Ultra and 1.0 Pro. Based on the results, Claude 3's most intelligent version, Opus, outperforms GPT-4 and Gemini Ultra, while Claude's Sonnet performs more capably than GPT 3.5. These were run on 10 AI benchmarks like coding, undergraduate level knowledge, grade school mathematics, and common knowledge. Now here are some interesting head-to-head results from the tests we gave them. Natural language can be very tricky, especially for AI chatbots. So many chatbots fall short in this aspect, which makes it one of the key metrics for testing the capabilities of language models. Well, fortunately for all three competing models, they were able to give the accurate answer to a well-known math question that warps even the human mind. So that was a tie. Next is ethical reasoning. To ascertain their level of ethical reasoning and manner of responses, we posed a difficult ethical dilemma to all three models. A dilemma because it doesn't necessarily have a straightforward answer. From the results, all three models gave convincing answers. However, Claude showed more sensitivity to the difficulties of the situation presented, and its response was more humane. Additionally, Claude's overview style of response was more conversational than the outlined viewpoints and possible solutions I got from GPT-4 and the entire 3 drafts of Gemini. The next test was a basic prompt to determine the more creative model. So, we asked them to write a short story of 300 words. Their creative juice flowed through their answers. All 3 of Gemini's drafts shared the same story, but with different grammar, style, and flow. It was good. However, there were extra words of more than 60 on all 3 drafted stories. GPT-4 stuck closer to the specified word count, but some of the words it used were lofty and redundant. Claude came short of the word count, but its story was far more interesting, thanks to the wide range of literary elements it deployed. None of the models gave a perfect response, but Claude slightly edges the others. We went further and asked them to generate a poem. The effective responses from the 3 models were 4-line poems. The poems were similar, which is good because it proves that they stuck to the information provided and followed instructions closely. After going through the poem several times, we were a little more compelled by Claude's poem. The poem was more complex and contained nice wordplay. One of the most dominant capabilities Claude 3 boasts of in the market is its long context and recall. The model has over a 200,000 context window, which enables it to process as many as 200K words. This is a massive scale when compared to GPT-4's 64,000-word token limit and Gemini Pro's 128,000-word limit. Even more impressive is Claude 3's recall capability. This is simply the ability of a model to accurately identify positive instances from samples in a large dataset. Say, it can recall and identify a line of a sentence or more from a large text. The model's recall capability was tested using needle-in-a-haystack evaluation measures, where Claude 3 Opus achieved over 99% accuracy. According to Anthropic's report, Claude was able to identify limitations of the evaluation in one of the test cases by recognizing that the needle sentence appeared to be artificially inserted into the original text by a human. It did this without any human intervention. Now, there is an exciting new modality introduced in Claude 3. The vision capability. This enables Claude to process a wide range of visual formats, from photos to charts, graphs, and technical diagrams. According to the benchmark results, Claude 3 Opus performs more capably than GPT-4, while the Sonnet and Haiku versions outperform Gemini Pro. Meanwhile, Gemini Ultra edges Claude 3 Opus in 3 of 5 benchmarks in this category. For a new modality, Claude's vision capabilities are still highly impressive. Can we talk about how great a job Claude does in delivering its answers? As we noted in the natural language comparison, Claude formats its answers in a manner that is easy on the eyes. Its answers make it seem like you are conversing with a fellow human. GPT-4 lacks this, as it often uses headers to break up text and sometimes sounds, well, like the machine it is. Gemini has a better response format. More often than not, one of its provided drafts sounds very real, like a typical Claude response. In terms of intelligence performance, as we've shown, Claude outpaces GPT-4 and Gemini Ultra. It is the AI to go for if you are looking for a chatbot that sticks to instruction and provides factual information. However, just like its counterpart, Claude 3 also has its limitations, and it won't be nice if you tell you all of the great stuff and leave out the not-so-great ones. So what are its limitations? Once again, we tested to check the model's reasoning level, but with riddles the second time. While ChatGPT and Gemini were spot on with their answers, Claude gave an inaccurate answer. So there might be a cap on its processing of tricky questions that contain. Or maybe it just didn't get the question because it somehow repeated the question and added the off answer. We only attempted the riddle on all models once, but still. Another knock on Claude 3 is its UI. There seems to be a limit on how many questions you can ask on Claude's free versions. It logs you out if you ask too many questions, and you have to wait 3 to 4 hours before you can ask any more questions. However, on GPT 3.5 and Gemini, which are also free versions, you can ask as many questions as you can think of. There is also the aspect of ethical considerations, which is good in fact. But the developers at Anthropic were too strict with incorporating the concept into the model. For instance, when you prompt Claude to give a response that requires it to roleplay, you won't get an actual answer. So the persona blocks are a huge turnoff. ChatGPT edges in this aspect. For users in need of image generation, Claude 3 is not for you. It can only interpret images, unlike GPT-4 and Gemini, which can generate any kind of image you ask them to. There is no doubt that Claude 3 is a worthy competition for GPT-4 and Gemini Ultra. All things considered, it even edges the others slightly. It is the prime model for users in need of fact-based information and instruction-based answers. It's an important AI tool to add to your workspace. But if you already subscribe to GPT-4 and Gemini Ultra, you won't miss much if you don't subscribe. Plus, we are still awaiting upgrades by OpenAI and Google on their respective models. However, if you have enough cash to spare, then your $20 is worth it. On that note, we will call it a wrap on this episode. Lots of big announcements will be coming soon in the AI space, and we will be bringing them hot as they come. If you don't want to miss out on the excitement, do well to subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell. Until next time,